This book, Act Successful Until You Become Successful, has been a journey through the mindset, the habits, and the actions that create the foundation of real success. At its heart, the core of this book is simple yet profound. You do not wait for success to come to you. You do not sit still and hope for your time. You rise, you act, and you walk into the world already carrying yourself as though success belongs to you. The outline is rooted in one timeless principle. Chapter 1: Success begins with belief, and belief begins with the courage to act before the evidence appears, because the truth about greatness is that it is not reserved for those who already have the wealth, the recognition, the connections, or the perfect circumstances, but for those who are willing to behave as if they belong to success, even when the world has not yet confirmed it. Acting successful until you become successful is not about pretending. It is about positioning yourself. It is about carrying the posture, the language, the energy, and the discipline of someone who is already living the life you desire. Because when you carry yourself with confidence, your mind begins to accept that confidence as truth, and when your mind accepts it as truth, your actions naturally align with it, and when your actions align with it, the results eventually reveal it. Too often people wait for permission to step into their potential. They wait for a degree, for an opportunity, for applause, or for someone else to say, "No, you are ready." But the successful never wait. They move forward in faith. They act now, they speak now, they discipline themselves now, and the world adjusts to the reality they create. Imagine for a moment an actor stepping onto the stage. The lights are bright, the audience is watching, and although the actor may not be the character in real life, for the duration of that performance, they breathe, move, and speak as if they are, and in time the audience believes it completely. Life works in the same way. When you perform your role as a successful person long enough, the performance becomes a practice, the practice becomes a habit, the habit becomes an identity, and the identity becomes reality. This is why the first step is never waiting for results. The first step is embodying the mindset that produces results, and that is why I tell you with absolute certainty that success begins not with proof, but with performance, not with arrival but with action, not with applause but with attitude. You must act with confidence even when you feel small. You must speak with clarity even when your voice shakes. You must walk with vision even when the road is unclear, because the act itself reshapes your belief, and belief reshapes your destiny. Think of every champion, every leader, every innovator you admire. None of them began as the finished product. They all began in obscurity, filled with uncertainty, lacking resources, yet they chose to step into their future identity before the world validated them. The entrepreneur dresses for success before the business is profitable. The speaker rehearses before there is an audience. The athlete trains before there is a trophy, and the artist creates before there is applause, because they understand that acting successful is the soil in which success grows. But remember, acting successful is not arrogance. It is not boasting. It is not showing off. It is the humble discipline of carrying yourself in alignment with your potential rather than your limitations. It means choosing to rise early even when no one is watching, choosing to work with excellence even when the task seems small, choosing to speak words of progress even when surrounded by negativity, choosing to shake off failure as a lesson instead of a verdict, choosing to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances but as the author of outcomes. And the beautiful secret is this: the more you act successful, the more your mind believes you are successful, and the more your mind believes it, the more your actions prove it, until finally the gap between who you are and who you wish to be closes. Success is not a door you stumble upon by accident. It is a house you build brick by brick with your daily actions, and acting successful is the blueprint that guides your construction. So, as you begin this journey, remember that the world will not always cheer you in the beginning, and that is fine, because it is not the world's applause that makes you successful. It is your decision to act successful that sets you apart. You are not waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is the one you create by daring to show up with the mindset of a winner right now. This chapter, this beginning, is your invitation to shift your identity before your circumstances change, to clothe yourself in confidence before recognition comes, to speak with purpose before others understand, to live with discipline before the rewards arrive, and to embrace the truth that you must first act as the person you want to become in order to truly become them. Every time you step forward in faith, you strengthen the bridge between your present and your future. Every time you act with courage, you shorten the distance between dreaming and achieving. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, you carve another line in the masterpiece of your destiny. Success is waiting, but it is not waiting somewhere far away. It is waiting inside the actions you choose today. So begin now, act as if you already are, and one day soon, you will look around and realize you no longer have to act, because the life you performed has become the life you live. Chapter 2: Success is not built on a single dramatic breakthrough. It is built on the quiet, steady, and sometimes unseen rhythm of habits, because habits are the hidden architecture of destiny, the invisible structure upon which greatness is erected. And those who wait for one magical moment of change never realize that their future is being shaped every day by the small, repeated actions that they choose or neglect. Acting successful until you become successful requires you to train your habits to match the life you desire, for it is not enough to dream. It is not enough to wish. It is not enough to speak the language of ambition if your daily rituals contradict your goals. And this is why so many people live trapped between their potential and their reality, because their habits betray them. Think of habits as seeds. No matter how small they appear, no matter how insignificant they seem, once planted and watered daily, they grow into trees strong enough to provide shade, fruit, and roots that last for generations. Waking up early, protecting your mornings, setting priorities, reading consistently, exercising discipline over your body and your time, guarding your mind from distractions. These are not glamorous acts, but they are powerful investments. Every successful person understands that their greatness is not found in what they occasionally do, but in what they repeatedly do until it becomes second nature. When you act successful, you build habits that reflect success long before you see the rewards of success, because your habits prepare the soil of your life so that, when opportunity comes, you are ready to harvest. The tragedy is that many people wait until they are successful to begin living with discipline. But the truth is, the discipline is what creates the success in the first place. You cannot rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your habits. If your habits are scattered, your results will be scattered. If your habits are weak, your results will be weak. But if your habits are aligned with your vision, your results will inevitably reflect your preparation. Consider for a moment how the athlete becomes a champion. It is not only in the stadium under the roar of the crowd, but in the lonely hours of training, in the quiet mornings when no one is watching, in the repeated drills that seem boring yet build greatness. Consider how the entrepreneur creates wealth, not only in the deal that closes or the product that sells, but in the hours of planning, the daily calls, the routines of discipline that most people ignore. Consider how the student becomes a scholar not in one burst of cramming, but in the daily habit of learning, of seeking knowledge consistently. The pattern is universal. Success is not an event, it is a habit. Acting successful, therefore, means asking yourself daily, what does the person I want to become do on a regular basis, and how can I begin doing it now? If the successful person reads, then you read. If they network, then you network. If they exercise, then you exercise, and then practice gratitude, then you practice gratitude. You do not wait until circumstances force you to grow. You grow intentionally through habits that sculpt you into someone who can carry success without collapsing under its weight. The danger of neglecting habits is that failure, too, is a habit. Laziness repeated daily becomes a lifestyle. Procrastination repeated daily becomes an identity. Excuses repeated daily become chains that hold you back from your future. Just as habits build success, habits also build failure, and every day you are either rehearsing victory or rehearsing defeat by the choices you make. Acting successful means rehearsing victory through habits that reinforce discipline, vision, clarity, and persistence. It means designing your days rather than drifting through them. It means choosing progress over comfort. It means setting a standard for yourself even when others are content with mediocrity. The secret is that habits, once established, become easier to maintain than to break, and that is why the successful protect their routines fiercely, because they know that losing their habits is losing the engine that drives their destiny. Imagine your life as a garden. If you do not plant intentional seeds, weeds will grow automatically, and if you do not cultivate habits of growth, distractions, delays, and destructive patterns will take root without your permission. But if you choose to plant seeds of discipline, seeds of learning, seeds of health, seeds of gratitude, and seeds of focus, then the garden of your life will bloom with success in its time. The journey of success is not about perfection, it is about consistency, because consistency builds momentum, momentum builds confidence, and confidence builds results. Acting successful is the art of staying faithful to the daily habits that reflect your highest vision, even when no one else sees the progress yet, because in time the progress cannot be hidden. The world may not applaud your early mornings, your quiet discipline, your daily sacrifices, but they will one day applaud the results that those habits create. So, as you reflect on this chapter, remember that success is not something you suddenly stumble upon. It is something you daily prepare for, daily walk toward, daily build through repetition. Habits are your silent allies, your loyal builders, your invisible companions on the journey to greatness. And if you act successful by shaping your habits today, you will find that tomorrow's success will no longer be something you are chasing. It will be something you are living. Chapter 3: Vision is the compass of success, the guiding star that prevents you from wandering aimlessly, the light that shines through the fog of doubt and distraction, and without it even the most talented and hardworking people find themselves chasing shadows. But with it even the ordinary rise into extraordinary, because vision gives meaning to effort and direction to discipline. To act successful, until you become successful, you must first act as if your vision is already alive, already breathing, already real, because the way you treat your vision will determine whether it grows into reality or fades into fantasy. Vision is not just what you see with your eyes. It is what you hold in the imagination of your heart. And though others may not understand it, though they may laugh at it, though they may call it impossible, your task is not to seek their approval, but to protect your vision with everything inside you. Think of a ship at sea without a compass. The ship drifts endlessly, tossed by waves, distracted by winds, pulled off course by currents. But with a compass the ship stays pointed toward its destination, no matter how fierce the storm. Your vision is that compass, and acting successful means living each day as if you are already moving steadily toward it, regardless of temporary setbacks. The tragedy is that many people allow their vision to die because they mistake delay for denial, they mistake silence for failure. But the truth is that every great vision requires patience, nurturing, and relentless faith, and your daily actions must be proof of your commitment to it. Acting successful means you rehearse the behaviors of the person who has already reached that vision. If your vision is to build a business, then you act as an entrepreneur today, studying, planning, and executing as though the business already exists. If your vision is to be a leader, then you act as a leader now, speaking with courage, taking responsibility, serving others, and practicing influence long before you hold the title. If your vision is to live in abundance, then you act abundantly by stewarding what you have with wisdom, by giving generously, by refusing to live in a mindset of scarcity. The mistake many make is waiting for the vision to manifest before they live as if it were true. But the secret of les successful is that they live into their vision until it manifests, and by doing so they collapse the distance between where they are and where they wish to be. Vision requires clarity, and clarity requires focus. You cannot hold 10 visions in your hand and expect them all to grow, just as you cannot plant 100 seeds in one pot and expect them to flourish. You must choose the vision that burns within you the most, and then devote yourself to it fully, protecting it from distractions, feeding it with learning, watering it with consistency, shielding it from the weeds of doubt and negativity. The world is full of people who began with vision but abandoned it because they were unwilling to act, as if it were already real, and so they settled for a smaller life than the one they were meant to live. But you must be different. You must dare to live today with the posture of one who knows exactly where they are going, even if the road is not yet fully paved, even if the destination feels far. Acting successful means setting your eyes on the horizon of your dream and walking as though each step matters, because in truth each step does matter, and though progress may feel slow, every step forward is a declaration that your vision is alive. Understand also that vision will attract opposition, for nothing great comes unchallenged. There will be critics, doubters, distractions, and temptations to give up. But when you act successful, you anchor yourself not in their opinions, but in your inner compass, and you keep pressing on, because you know that storms do not last forever, but visions that are lived out echo for generations. Think of the inventors, the dreamers, the pioneers. Their visions were ridiculed before they were celebrated. Their ideas were dismissed before they were adopted, but they acted daily as though their vision were true, and time eventually bowed to their persistence. This is the pattern you must follow. Hold the vision, act upon it, live into it, and refuse to surrender it no matter how long it takes. Vision is not only about the destination, it is about shaping your identity, for the clearer your vision, the more it demands you to grow, to shed distractions, to strengthen character, to discipline your mind. Every day that you choose to act as if your vision is real, you become more prepared to handle the reality when it arrives, and this is why so many fail when they stumble into success without vision. They are not prepared to carry it. But you, with vision as your compass, will not only arrive but endure, because you did not wait for success to teach you how to act. You acted successful until success came, and by then you were already ready. So protect your vision, speak it, write it, plan for it, and above all, act as if it is already unfolding, because the greatest secret is that it already is. Chapter 4. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality, the invisible force that separates those who talk about success from those who achieve it, because talent without discipline is wasted. Ambition without discipline is fleeting, and effort without discipline is scattered. And yet it is discipline that transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes, the quiet daily choice to do what must be done, even when you do not feel like it, the relentless commitment to show up, perform, and persevere regardless of circumstances, because the truth is that success is not determined by feelings, moods, or comfort, but by consistent, intentional action that aligns with your highest vision. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you cultivate the habit of discipline as the foundation upon which all other achievements rest. Discipline is not about restriction or punishment. It is about freedom. The freedom to create results, the freedom to remain in control of your destiny, the freedom to act in alignment with your goals, even when distractions, doubts, and temptations surround you. Without discipline, the mind becomes lazy, the body becomes undirected, and the heart becomes discouraged. For when the easy choice is always taken, when procrastination is allowed to govern your hours, when excuses are permitted to dictate your actions, the bridge to success collapses beneath your feet. And yet with discipline, every small act becomes a brick laid carefully in the pathway toward your future, and those bricks accumulate until the pathway transforms into a highway leading directly to your dreams. Acting successful means embracing this reality. The successful do not wait for motivation to arrive, because motivation is fleeting and unreliable. They do not wait for inspiration, because inspiration is unpredictable. They rely on discipline, which is constant, unyielding, and dependable. You must train yourself to act even when you are tired, to work even when discouraged, to persist even when it seems easier to quit, because the daily practice of discipline teaches your mind, body, and soul that your goals are more important than your temporary discomfort, more valuable than your current convenience, and more permanent than the fleeting emotions that would otherwise dictate your choices. Consider the entrepreneur who rises before dawn to plan, study, and strategize, the writer who composes paragraphs even when words do not flow easily, the athlete who trains rigorously even when no one is watching, the student who studies diligently even when distractions are plentiful. In each case, the consistent choice to act with discipline compounds into mastery, achievement, and recognition. And yet the world rarely sees the countless hours of quiet, disciplined effort, which is why so many underestimate the power of discipline. But you, acting successful, understand that discipline is not optional. It is essential, it is unavoidable, and it is the mechanism by which vision becomes reality. Discipline also trains patience, for the bridge between effort and reward is often long, and without the daily commitment to consistent action, many abandon their goals before they can taste success, thinking that effort should be immediate and results instant. But the truth is that every achievement worth having requires steady, persistent investment, repetition, and refinement, and this investment is fueled by discipline, because discipline allows you to do what is necessary today for the rewards of tomorrow, to endure setbacks without surrender, to keep moving forward even when progress seems slow, and to maintain faith in the process while others give in to frustration. Acting successful is choosing the long term over the short term, choosing the path of resilience over the path of convenience, choosing preparation over procrastination, choosing mastery over mediocrity, because each small, disciplined choice is like a ripple that expands into waves of progress, and eventually those waves carry you to the shores of your dreams, which would otherwise remain unreachable without the bridge built from your daily commitment. Discipline is not only about action, it is also about focus, priority, and self-control, for a disciplined mind knows when to say no to distractions, when to ignore unnecessary noise, and when to protect the sacred hours of work, reflection, and growth that shape the future. Acting successful means aligning your habits, your schedule, your thoughts, and your behaviors with your highest vision, and refusing to allow temporary feelings, circumstances, or outside opinions to derail your trajectory, because discipline converts potential into performance, consistency into results, and effort into excellence. Therefore, understand that discipline is not punishment, it is power. It is the silent engine that drives the vehicle of success, the bridge that connects who you are today with who you are becoming tomorrow, and the compass that keeps you moving steadily toward your vision, even when the terrain is rough, the storms are fierce, and the journey feels long. Every successful person you admire, every leader, every innovator, every champion relied not only on talent, vision, or luck, but on the daily practice of discipline that allowed them to show up, endure, and persist. And you must do the same, acting successful until the habit of discipline becomes your identity, until it becomes second nature, until it carries you effortlessly to the life you have imagined, because the bridge of discipline, once walked faithfully, leads inevitably to the destination of success, and there is no shortcut, no substitute, and no excuse for neglecting it. Chapter 5: Confidence is the quiet, unshakable force that separates those who act successfully from those who hesitate endlessly. The inner assurance that allows you to move boldly in the direction of your vision, to speak with clarity, to take action despite uncertainty, and to continue when doubt whispers in your ear. Because acting successful until you become successful is not about being fearless or never failing. It is about developing the deep conviction that you are capable, worthy, and prepared to handle whatever comes your way. And this conviction must guide your steps long before the world validates your ability, long before results appear, long before anyone else acknowledges your potential. For confidence is born from the repetition of small victories, the daily choice to show up, to perform, to push forward when emotions and circumstances pull you toward inaction, and the understanding that the voice inside you, the one that doubts, will always be louder than the applause outside, unless you intentionally cultivate faith in yourself and your process. Confidence is not arrogance. It is not boasting. It is not pretending to be someone you are not. It is a deep, grounded belief in your preparation, your values, your choices, and your ability to navigate the challenges that inevitably arise. And it manifests in posture, speech, decision-making, and resilience, creating an energy that attracts opportunity, inspires trust, and signals competence to others even before your achievements are fully realized. Acting successful means training yourself to respond to fear with action, to respond to uncertainty with courage, to respond to criticism with calm, because confidence is a muscle that grows stronger each time you act despite doubt, each time you speak despite nervousness, each time you pursue your goals despite setbacks. And as you build this muscle, you will find that procrastination loses its hold and indecision fades, replaced by a steady rhythm of intentional, bold action. Consider the entrepreneur who pitches an idea before it is fully formed, the speaker who addresses an audience despite butterflies in their stomach, the athlete who takes the decisive shot even when the scoreboard seems against them, the student who answers a question boldly before being sure of the outcome, and the countless others who achieved remarkable results by acting with confidence even when the inner voice screamed, "You are not ready." Each example demonstrates that confidence is not a precondition for success, but a product of action, and the world responds to the energy of confidence long before it sees the proof of results, because human beings are naturally drawn to those who believe in themselves, and acting successful means embodying that belief daily. The danger lies in waiting to feel confident before acting, because feelings are temporary and unreliable, and many dreams die in the waiting room of hesitation, never realizing that action is the fuel that ignites confidence. Every time you act boldly, no matter how small the action, you reinforce a belief system that builds resilience, competence, and momentum, and over time, the repeated acts of courage compound into an unshakable identity, so that eventually confidence is no longer something you manufacture, it becomes who you are. Confidence also requires preparation, because faith without preparation is fragile, and the truly confident person knows that discipline, knowledge, and practice are the backbone of self-assurance. And when you pair disciplined preparation with action, fear cannot hold you back. Acting successful means showing up even when the conditions are imperfect, performing even when your skills are still developing, speaking even when your voice shakes, and leading even when the path is unclear, because each step taken in faith is another brick laid in the foundation of unshakable confidence. Confidence is contagious. It inspires trust, attracts opportunities, and encourages collaboration, and those who act successful understand that by embodying confidence, they not only transform their own trajectory, but they also influence the world around them, opening doors that would remain closed to those paralyzed by doubt. Remember also that confidence is not permanent unless it is actively nurtured. It requires ongoing practice, continual learning, reflection, and reinforcement, because challenges will test it, setbacks will shake it, and criticism will try to erode it. And acting successful means recommitting to your inner belief system each day, choosing courage over comfort, persistence over avoidance, and faith over fear. Every leader, every champion, every innovator, every person who has achieved extraordinary results understood that confidence is not a magical trait reserved for a lucky few. It is a skill, a habit, and a practice cultivated over time by acting successfully long before the world calls them successful. And this is why you must start today, not tomorrow, not when circumstances feel perfect, but today, to speak, move, decide, and act with the energy and posture of someone who is already on the path of achievement. Because in doing so, you train your mind, your body, and your destiny to align with the life you are determined to create. Confidence is the bridge between potential and performance, between preparation and opportunity, and between vision and reality. And when you act with it consistently, you will find that doors open, challenges shrink, and your capacity for success expands, proving beyond doubt that the person you are becoming is already living the life you once imagined. Chapter 6: Failure is not the opposite of success. It is not a verdict on your worth. It is not a signal that you are incapable, but rather it is a necessary part of the journey toward achievement. The inevitable teacher that tests your resolve, strengthens your character, and reveals the gaps that must be filled if you are to reach your goals. Because every person who has accomplished great things has encountered failure repeatedly, yet they continued to act successfully despite setbacks. Understanding that each failure is a lesson, each mistake a stepping stone, and each obstacle an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient, and acting successful until you become successful means embracing failure not with fear, denial, or regret, but with curiosity, courage, and determination, knowing that your response to failure is far more important than the failure itself. Too many people allow failure to paralyze them, to convince them that they are not meant to succeed, to convince them that their dreams are unattainable. But the truth is that failure is universal and unavoidable. It comes to everyone who dares to pursue meaningful goals, and it is the successful who lies at the difference between victory and defeat lies in persistence, learning, and adaptation rather than in the mere absence of setbacks. Acting successful requires that you anticipate failure as part of the process, that you prepare yourself mentally to encounter it without losing confidence, and that you use it as a catalyst to improve, to refine your methods, to test new strategies, and to deepen your understanding of what it truly takes to achieve your vision. Because those who fear failure too much to act are those who remain trapped in mediocrity, while those who embrace it as part of growth move forward relentlessly, turning every misstep into momentum and every disappointment into insight. Failure teaches patience, humility, and endurance, and it reveals the gaps between where you are and where you want to be, providing clarity that comfort and success alone cannot offer, because it forces reflection, analysis, and adjustment. And the individual who chooses to act successful understands that these lessons are invaluable, shaping both the person and the path, ensuring that future attempts are stronger, more strategic, and better aligned with long-term goals. Acting successful also means refusing to take failure personally, recognizing that mistakes, setbacks, and defeats do not define your value. They simply mark points along a trajectory, and the ability to separate identity from outcome allows you to recover quickly, learn deeply, and act decisively, while those who internalize failure allow it to fester into fear, hesitation, and self-doubt, slowing progress and diminishing potential. The successful treat failure as a necessary ingredient, a challenge to overcome, and a signal to recalibrate, understanding that persistence is often the differentiator between those who achieve and those who give up, because consistent action compounded over time yields results, even when setbacks occur repeatedly, and those who act successfully do not stop moving forward in the presence of failure. They accelerate their learning, adjust their approach, and maintain the mindset of someone who will achieve despite difficulties. Every setback contains within it a lesson about strategy, focus, preparation, and resilience, and acting successful requires that you extract those lessons without losing momentum, using the experience as fuel for future growth, knowing that the journey toward success is never linear, and that each failure is merely a bend in the road, not the end of the path. Acting successful also means cultivating courage, the courage to try again, the courage to face criticism, the courage to start over, the courage to persevere when results seem distant. Because courage is the antidote to fear, and fear is often the only barrier standing between potential and achievement. Yet the more you act despite fear, the more confidence you build, the more resilience you cultivate, and the more inevitable your progress becomes. Remember that some of the greatest inventions, discoveries, and breakthroughs were born from repeated failures, from trial and error, and from the refusal to quit when the world doubted, dismissed, or mocked the effort. And the principle is universal. Those who act successfully understand that failure is temporary, preparation is enduring, persistence is powerful, and their vision is non-negotiable. By embracing failure, learning from it, and continuing to act successfully, you ensure that every setback becomes a stepping stone, every mistake becomes a lesson, every challenge becomes a test of resolve, and eventually, success becomes not only possible but inevitable, proving beyond doubt that failure, when handled correctly, is not the enemy, but the ally of every person who is determined to achieve greatness. Chapter 7: Environment is one of the most powerful yet often overlooked factors in determining success, because the people you spend time with, the places you inhabit, the conversations you engage in, and the influences you allow to shape your thoughts all contribute to the quality of your decisions, the strength of your mindset, and the trajectory of your life. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you intentionally cultivate an environment that reinforces your vision, supports your growth, and challenges you to rise above mediocrity, because even the most talented, disciplined, and motivated individuals can be derailed by toxic surroundings, negative influences, or unproductive habits embedded in the culture around them. Your environment is not limited to your physical space. It includes the emotional energy of the people you spend your time with, the information you consume, the attitudes and beliefs that dominate your social circle, and the mental patterns that are reinforced daily through repeated exposure. And if these elements are misaligned with your goals, they can subtly sabotage your progress, drain your energy, and distract you from your mission, which is why acting successful means choosing carefully where, how, and with whom you invest your time, energy, and focus, because the quality of your environment directly impacts the quality of your results. Consider the individual who surrounds themselves with people who are negative, critical, or complacent. Over time, their mindset shrinks, their confidence falters, and their ambitions are muted, not because they lack talent or potential, but because the environment they inhabit continually reinforces limitation, doubt, and hesitation, creating a subtle but powerful force that resists progress, whereas the person who surrounds themselves with those who inspire, encourage, and challenge them experiences continuous reinforcement of growth, possibility, and action, which accelerates their progress and sustains their momentum even during difficult times. Acting successful requires not only the elimination of negative influences, but also the proactive pursuit of positive ones. It means seeking mentors who have walked the path before you, peers who elevate your thinking, communities that align with your values and aspirations, and experiences that expand your horizons, because these elements collectively form a scaffold that supports the vision you are striving to achieve, strengthens the habits you are cultivating, and motivates the behaviors you are practicing, and over time, this scaffold becomes a framework for consistent success. Your environment also shapes your beliefs, because repeated exposure to ideas, attitudes, and behaviors conditions your mind to accept certain truths, limitations, or possibilities, and when your environment reinforces the beliefs necessary for success, such as self-efficacy, resilience, and a growth mindset, you find that acting successful becomes more natural, more intuitive, and more aligned with the person you aspire to become. Conversely, if your environment constantly presents doubt, distraction, or complacency, even the strongest intentions can be eroded, because the human mind is highly sensitive to external stimuli, and without conscious management of your surroundings, external influences will dictate the trajectory of your life, whether you want them to or not. Acting successful means taking responsibility for your environment as an extension of your discipline, recognizing that success is rarely accidental and rarely achieved in isolation, and understanding that the energy, attitudes, and behaviors you allow into your space either accelerate your growth or delay it. This also includes the information you consume, from books and podcasts to social media and conversations, because repeated exposure to knowledge, insights, and perspectives aligned with your goals shapes the way you think, the quality of your decisions, and the speed at which you progress. And acting successful means curating this information to ensure it reinforces your vision rather than distracts from it. Moreover, the physical space you occupy, the organization of your home, your office, your workspace, can either enhance focus and productivity or create clutter, confusion, and wasted energy, and successful people design their environment with intention, creating spaces that support clarity, action, and the behaviors necessary to achieve their goals. Acting successful also means recognizing that you have the power to change your environment when it no longer serves you, to distance yourself from relationships, habits, and spaces that hinder growth, and to surround yourself with conditions that empower you to perform at your highest level, because your surroundings are not just a backdrop to your life. They are an active participant in the story of your success, influencing your mindset, your habits, and your results in ways that cannot be ignored. The reality is that environment can either be a catalyst or a constraint, a force that elevates you toward your vision or holds you back from achieving it. And those who act successfully understand that the deliberate design of their surroundings is not optional. It is essential, it is strategic, and it is non-negotiable, because to act successful until you become successful, you must build an ecosystem that constantly nurtures your growth, reinforces your discipline, inspires your confidence, challenges your limits, and accelerates the realization of your vision. And when this environment is in place, success ceases to be a distant possibility and becomes an inevitable outcome of the life you intentionally construct. Chapter 8: Time is the most valuable resource you have, yet it is also the most easily wasted. The one thing that, once gone, can never be reclaimed. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you treat every moment as sacred, understanding that the way you spend your hours directly shapes your results, your habits, your growth, and ultimately the trajectory of your life. Because consistent, intentional use of time compounds into results that feel almost magical, while careless, distracted, or passive use of time leads to stagnation, frustration, and unfulfilled potential. And those who act successfully know that time is not to be taken for granted, postponed, or surrendered to external demands without thought, but must be actively managed, guarded, and invested in alignment with the person they are becoming. To act successful means to recognize that time is not abundant, it is limited, and every minute that passes is a minute you will never regain, and therefore, every choice about how to spend your time carries consequences far beyond the immediate moment, shaping not only today, but the cumulative results of months and years, because success is not built in a single day, but through the consistent allocation of time to priorities that matter, to actions that drive progress, and to learning that fuels growth. Those who act successful create routines, set boundaries, and eliminate distractions because they understand that idle time, procrastination, and reactive living are silent killers of potential, and they know that saying yes to one thing often means saying no to countless other opportunities, which is why intentionality in how you spend your time is a cornerstone of acting successful, because every hour invested wisely compounds into a future that reflects your vision, while every hour wasted silently undermines your dreams, your confidence, and your momentum. Acting successful also means protecting your mornings, your most productive hours, by establishing habits and rituals that set the tone for the day, because the way you start your day determines the energy, focus, and mindset you carry into every task, conversation, and challenge that follows, and those who master the management of their time create a rhythm in life where progress becomes inevitable, consistency becomes effortless, and momentum builds like a wave that carries them closer to their goals with each passing day. Beyond routines, acting successful involves prioritization, the ability to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important, between tasks that produce real results and those that merely consume attention, between fleeting distractions and long-term investments. Because time is finite and energy is limited, and every decision about how you allocate both must reflect your commitment to growth, achievement, and excellence. Those who act successful understand that multitasking is often an illusion, and that deep focus on high-value activities accelerates results far more than scattered attention ever could, and they schedule their days around these high-leverage actions, protecting their time fiercely from interruptions, trivial demands, and unnecessary noise, because they know that discipline over time translates directly into power over results. Acting successful also means embracing the discomfort of delayed gratification, understanding that every hour spent wisely now is an investment that compounds over time, and that the temptation to waste a moment, indulge in distraction, or procrastinate may feel easier in the short term, but ultimately undermines the life you are building, because success favors those who respect time as a currency more valuable than money, more fleeting than opportunity, and more influential than talent or luck. Furthermore, acting successful requires reflection, because without evaluating how time is spent, you cannot adjust, optimize, or learn from your own behavior, and the practice of reviewing your days, weeks, and months allows you to identify areas where energy is being wasted, habits are misaligned, or priorities are misplaced, and to take corrective action that accelerates progress rather than leaving results to chance. Every successful individual, from athletes to entrepreneurs to leaders, attributes a significant portion of their achievements not to luck or innate talent, but to rigorous management of time, intentional planning, and the relentless commitment to focus on high-value activities, because time, once disciplined, becomes a force multiplier that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes. And when you act successfully by mastering your time, you remove chaos from your life, create space for growth, and position yourself to capitalize on every opportunity that comes your way. Remember that time is impartial. It passes for the rich and poor, the talented and untalented, the prepared and unprepared. And the measure of your success will be determined not by how much time you have, but by how intentionally, consistently, and wisely you use the time that is yours. And by acting successful until you become successful, you ensure that your hours are invested in building the life you envision, because every second accounted for compounds into a legacy of achievement, influence, and fulfillment, proving that mastery over time is mastery over destiny itself. Chapter 9: Mindset is the invisible force that shapes your reality, the lens through which you interpret every experience, the engine that drives your actions, and ultimately determines whether you rise to your potential or settle for mediocrity. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you cultivate a mindset aligned with growth, abundance, and resilience, because your thoughts directly influence your beliefs shape your behaviors, and your behaviors produce your results. And therefore the quality of your life is determined not by luck, circumstance, or innate talent alone, but by the consistent application of mindset that empowers you to act decisively, persevere under pressure, and maintain clarity when challenges arise. A growth mindset embraces challenges as opportunities to learn, failure as a teacher rather than a verdict, and criticism as fuel for improvement rather than a reason to quit. And those who act successfully recognize that cultivating such a mindset is a daily practice, requiring intentional focus, self-awareness, and the rejection of limiting beliefs that have been unconsciously adopted from the environment, society, or past experiences. Acting successful means refusing to be defined by circumstances, refusing to accept excuses, and refusing to let temporary setbacks dictate your long-term trajectory. Because the person who succeeds is not the one who never encounters obstacles, but the one who thinks differently about obstacles, seeing them as signals, lessons, and invitations to adapt, grow, and persist, rather than as barriers, dead ends, or proof of inadequacy. The mind is a garden, and the thoughts you allow to take root and flourish determine the quality of your harvest. If you cultivate thoughts of doubt, fear, and limitation, they will produce actions that mirror those feelings and results that confirm your insecurities. But if you cultivate thoughts of possibility, courage, and determination, your actions will naturally align with growth, and your results will reflect the strength of your mindset. Acting successful also requires awareness of self-talk, because the internal dialogue you maintain either propels you forward or holds you back. And the practice of monitoring, adjusting, and intentionally replacing negative or disempowering thoughts with constructive, affirming, and forward-focused statements is essential, because repeated exposure to empowering thoughts rewires the brain to focus on solutions, their opportunities, and the steps needed to progress, while allowing negative thoughts to dominate reinforces fear, hesitation, and stagnation. Those who act successfully understand that mindset is not static. It requires constant maintenance, like a muscle that strengthens with training, and it must be reinforced through reading, reflection, learning from mentors, affirmations, visualization, and the deliberate framing of challenges as opportunities. Because success is the natural outcome of a mind prepared to recognize, pursue, and capitalize on opportunity, while failure is often the result of a mind conditioned to notice obstacles, limitations, and reasons why action is futile. Acting successful until you become successful also requires mental resilience, the ability to recover quickly from setbacks, to remain calm under pressure, and to keep moving forward even when circumstances seem contrary to your goals, because the path to achievement is never linear, and those who thrive are the ones who do not let temporary defeats, criticism, or delays shake their confidence or distort their perspective, but rather use every challenge as fuel for growth, every failure as a lesson, and every difficulty as a test of commitment to their vision. Mindset shapes habits, and habits shape results. A person with a growth-oriented, disciplined, confident, and resilient mindset will naturally make choices that support their goals, take actions that advance them toward their vision, and persevere through difficulties that would stop someone with a passive or defeatist mindset. And acting successful means intentionally developing this mental framework, understanding that the quality of your thoughts directly correlates with the quality of your results. Remember also that mindset affects relationships, communication, and influence. A positive, confident, solution-oriented mind attracts opportunities, inspires others, and fosters collaboration, while a negative, doubtful, or defeatist mind repels possibility, undermines confidence, and limits impact. And therefore, maintaining an empowering mindset is not only crucial for personal achievement, but also for the broader influence you can have on the people and environment around you. Every successful person you admire attributes a significant portion of their achievements to mindset, understanding that beliefs, focus, and perception determine the consistency, creativity, and courage with which they pursue their goals. And those who act successfully recognize that cultivating a mindset of possibility, resilience, and growth is not optional. It is foundational, non-negotiable, and critical to bridging the gap between who they are today and who they are becoming, because the mind is the origin of all results. And mastery over your thoughts is mastery over your life, proving that the journey to success begins not with resources, talent, or circumstance, but with a conscious decision to act with the mindset of someone who is already on the path to achieving their vision. Chapter 10: Action is the engine of success, the mechanism through which vision becomes reality, dreams transform into tangible outcomes, and plans are converted into results, because no amount of knowledge, strategy, or motivation will produce achievement without deliberate, consistent, and focused action. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you not only plan and prepare, but also execute relentlessly, understanding that momentum is created through movement, and that progress is measured by what you do, not what you intend, hope, or wish for. Many people make the mistake of waiting for the perfect moment, the right conditions, or the deal plan, and in doing so, they allow fear, polarization, to dominate their lives. But the truth is that the perfect moment rarely exists. Conditions are never ideal, and execution in imperfect circumstances separates those who succeed from those who merely dream, because action, even when imperfect, generates feedback, experience, and growth, while inaction only produces regret, stagnation, and missed opportunity. Acting successful means taking initiative daily, consistently, and decisively, even when motivation is low, energy is limited, or obstacles appear, because every act of courage, every step forward, and every choice to persevere compounds into momentum that drives results over time. And those who understand the power of action never wait for permission, validation, or inspiration. They create it by moving. Execution also requires prioritization, because action without direction is wasted effort, and the individual who acts successfully knows that every movement must align with their highest vision, their long-term goals, and the habits that reinforce growth, so that each step is purposeful, strategic, and contributes to cumulative progress, rather than scattering energy on trivial, low-value tasks that do not advance the mission. Acting successful also means embracing discomfort, because meaningful action often involves risk, challenge, and uncertainty, and those who achieve extraordinary results are willing to step outside their comfort zones, confront fear, and take responsibility for outcomes that are not guaranteed, because they understand that growth, mastery, and opportunity are located on the other side of discomfort, and avoiding action to remain comfortable is a recipe for mediocrity. Moreover, action fuels confidence, because repeated execution creates competence. Competence reinforces belief in ability, and belief in ability generates further action, creating a self-reinforcing cycle that accelerates progress, whereas inaction breeds doubt, hesitation, and a sense of helplessness, undermining potential and limiting impact. Acting successful also requires resilience in the face of setbacks, because obstacles, mistakes, and failures are inevitable when pursuing meaningful goals, and the person who continues to act despite difficulties develops adaptability, problem-solving skills, and the perseverance necessary to overcome challenges that would stop someone who gives up at the first sign of difficulty, proving that consistent action in the face of adversity is often more valuable than perfect action in ideal circumstances. Action also reinforces discipline and focus, because every time you act intentionally, you train your mind, habits, and routines to prioritize productivity over distraction, long-term goals over short-term pleasure, and results over excuses. And this repeated commitment till execution builds an identity of competence, reliability, and determination that ultimately shapes the outcomes you experience. Acting successful until you become successful further requires that you break large goals into manageable, measurable steps, because the process of taking action becomes less daunting when tasks are clear, progress is visible, and results are tangible. And the momentum generated from small, consistent victories compounds over time into achievements that once seemed impossible, demonstrating that consistent, incremental action is the key to turning vision into reality. Additionally, action is amplified when paired with reflection, because the ability to evaluate results, adjust strategies, and refine methods ensures that effort is efficient, informed, and continuously improving, rather than repetitive, stagnant, or misdirected. And those who act successfully recognize that the combination of consistent execution and intelligent reflection produces mastery, innovation, and breakthrough results. Every person who has achieved extraordinary outcomes, from entrepreneurs to athletes to leaders, attributes their success to a relentless commitment to action, to the willingness to move forward despite uncertainty, and to the discipline to act consistently over time, because action is the bridge between intention and reality, and nothing is ever achieved without it. Acting successful is therefore not a passive state of mind, but a continuous commitment to doing, moving, and creating every day, because your vision, preparation, and mindset are meaningless without the decisive steps that bring them to life. And by committing to action, you ensure that your goals are not just aspirations, but inevitable outcomes of the life you intentionally construct. Chapter 11: Persistence is the invisible thread that connects action to achievement, the quality that ensures efforts are not wasted, and the force that transforms challenges, obstacles, and setbacks into stepping stones on the path to success. Because the reality is that talent, intelligence, and opportunity alone cannot guarantee outcomes, and even the most prepared and capable individuals will encounter resistance, failure, and difficulty along the journey. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you develop a mindset of unwavering persistence, understanding that consistency in the face of adversity is what separates those who ultimately succeed from those who give up too soon. Persistence is not simply repeating the same action blindly. It is intelligently, adaptively, and relentlessly moving forward despite difficulties, adjusting methods, learning from mistakes, and maintaining faith in the ultimate goal. Because obstacles are not signals to quit, but indicators of areas that require refinement, improvement, and growth. And the person who perseveres converts every challenge into an opportunity for advancement, every failure into insight, and every setback into motivation to act with greater determination. Acting successful means refusing to be swayed by temporary defeat, criticism, or delay, and instead understanding that the path to any meaningful achievement is rarely linear, smooth, or immediate, but is instead composed of twists, turns, and moments that test resolve, requiring that you continue taking steps day after day, even when progress seems slow, invisible, or uncertain, because every small, consistent effort compounds into results over time, and the cumulative effect of persistence is often far greater than isolated bursts of talent or energy. Persistence also demands mental resilience, because repeated efforts in the face of adversity are exhausting, discouraging, and uncomfortable, and the mind will naturally search for excuses, shortcuts, or reasons to stop. But those who act successfully cultivate the discipline to endure discomfort, control their emotions, and maintain focus on the long-term vision, knowing that perseverance is the bridge between effort and outcome, and that quitting ensures failure while persistence keeps possibility alive. Acting successful until you become successful involves developing habits that reinforce persistence, such as setting clear, measurable goals, breaking them into actionable steps, maintaining daily routines, and reviewing progress regularly, because these practices create momentum and build confidence and allow you to see the cumulative impact of consistent effort, which strengthens motivation and reinforces the commitment to keep moving forward, even when results are not immediately apparent. Persistence also teaches patience, because significant achievements rarely happen overnight, and those who endure understand that success is the product of repeated effort compounded over weeks, months, and years, and that every small action, every decision to continue, and every refusal to surrender builds the foundation upon which greatness is achieved. Acting successful further means embracing a mindset that views challenges as temporary and surmountable rather than permanent and insurmountable, understanding that the obstacles you face today are shaping the skills, knowledge, and resilience necessary for the opportunities of tomorrow, and that by continuing to push forward, you transform difficulty into advantage, pressure into progress, and resistance into mastery. Persistence is also contagious, because those who demonstrate unwavering commitment inspire confidence, collaboration, and loyalty in others, attracting support, resources, and opportunities that further accelerate progress. And acting successful includes recognizing that your persistence not only advances your own goals, but also influences the environment around you, creating momentum that extends beyond personal achievement. The greatest leaders, entrepreneurs, innovators, and champions all attribute their success to the simple yet profound principle of persistence, noting that the difference between them and those who fail is rarely intelligence or talent, but the ability to continue acting, learning, and improving long after initial excitement fades, after setbacks occur, and when the comfort of quitting tempts even the most determined individuals. Acting successful until you become successful means committing fully to the principle that no matter how many times you stumble, fall, or face resistance, you will rise again, adjust your approach if necessary, and continue forward, because each step taken in persistence compounds over time into results that would otherwise remain impossible, proving that persistence is not merely an action but a mindset, an identity, and a non-negotiable habit for anyone determined to turn vision into reality, obstacles into opportunities, and effort into lasting achievement. Chapter 12, Focus, is the invisible force that transforms scattered effort into powerful results, the ability to concentrate your energy, attention, and resources on what truly matters, and the quality that separates those who achieve extraordinary outcomes from those who drift aimlessly, because without focus, talent, knowledge, and ambition are diluted, wasted, or misapplied. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you cultivate the habit of sustained, deliberate attention to your highest priorities, understanding that clarity in thought and purpose is the foundation upon which every achievement is built, and that distraction, multitasking, and divided energy are the silent killers of progress. Focus is not merely the act of paying attention, but the disciplined choice to prioritize what aligns with your vision while eliminating what does not. Because every moment you allow your attention to wander, every task you pursue that does not advance your goals, and every influence you permit that dilutes your energy undermines the life you are striving to create. And those who act successfully guard their focus as fiercely as any other valuable resource, knowing that the results they desire will never come to those who are distracted, reactive, or inconsistent in their attention. Acting successful means identifying the highest leverage activities that produce the greatest outcomes, concentrating your effort on those activities, and systematically reducing or eliminating low-value actions, interruptions, and distractions, because clarity of purpose allows you to move efficiently, decisively, and consistently toward your vision, rather than spinning in circles, reacting to trivial demands, or pursuing fleeting interests that do not serve your long-term goals. Focus also requires mental discipline, because the mind is naturally drawn to novelty, comfort, and immediate gratification, and without intentional effort, it drifts toward thoughts, behaviors, and influences that fragment energy and attention. But those who act successfully cultivate the skill of redirecting their attention and maintaining presence and returning to the task at hand with unwavering consistency, knowing that mastery, results, and achievement are built through sustained concentration over time. Acting successful further involves creating an environment that supports focus, because even the most disciplined mind struggles when the surroundings are chaotic, distracting, or misaligned with priorities. And this includes both physical spaces and mental inputs, such as clutter, noise, irrelevant information, negative influences, and digital distractions, all of which drain energy and reduce the capacity to think, decide, and act effectively. And those who succeed intentionally design their environment to minimize these obstacles and maximize productivity, clarity, and creative problem solving. Focus also amplifies the power of action because repeated, directed efforts compound into results far more effectively than scattered, inconsistent attempts. And acting successful means that each step, each decision, and each effort is intentionally aligned with a broader plan, producing momentum, confidence, and progress, while scattered effort often produces exhaustion, frustration, and minimal tangible results. The habit of focus also strengthens resilience, because when attention is consistently directed toward meaningful goals, distractions, setbacks, and external noise lose their power to derail your trajectory, and you are able to maintain steady progress even when circumstances are difficult, feedback is delayed, or the path seems unclear, because focus acts as both compass and engine, guiding you toward your vision and powering each deliberate action with clarity and intention. Acting successful until you become successful further requires the ability to prioritize, to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important, to align short-term actions with long-term objectives, and to allocate energy and resources to the highest value pursuits, because without clear priorities, focus dissipates, effort becomes wasted, and progress slows, whereas deliberate attention ensures that every action contributes meaningfully to the life you are building. Focus also enhances learning, problem-solving, and creativity, because concentrated attention allows the mind to see patterns, generate insights, and develop solutions that scattered or distracted thinking cannot produce. And acting successfully requires that you engage deeply with the tasks, ideas, and relationships that matter most, harnessing focus as a multiplier of impact and effectiveness. Finally, acting successful until you become successful means recognizing that focus is a skill, not an innate trait, and that it must be practiced, protected, and reinforced daily through intentional habits, disciplined routines, and conscious choices, because mastery over attention is mastery over results, and the individual who develops this skill consistently turns vision into reality, effort into achievement, and potential into extraordinary outcomes, proving that focus is the ultimate tool for transforming intention into action and action into success. Chapter 13 Vision is the guiding star that illuminates the path to success, the ability to see beyond current circumstances, limitations, and distractions, and the force that motivates persistent action, strategic decisions, and unwavering commitment. Because without a clear vision, effort becomes scattered, ambition falters, and progress is inconsistent. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you cultivate a vivid, compelling vision that serves as both compass and fuel for every action, choice, and behavior, allowing you to navigate challenges, maintain focus, and accelerate growth with clarity and purpose. Vision is not merely a vague idea of success or a distant dream. It is a detailed, intentional, and inspiring picture of what you aim to achieve, the person you aspire to become, and the impact you wish to create. And the clarity of this vision determines the intensity, consistency, and direction of your effort, because the mind and body act most effectively when they have a defined target to focus on, measure progress against, and align resources toward achieving. Acting successful means continually refining, clarifying, and expanding your vision, because a vision that is vague, uninspiring, or unaligned with your values will fail to generate the energy, motivation, and persistence required to overcome obstacles. And those who succeed intentionally engage with their vision daily, revisiting it, visualizing it, and integrating it into their decisions, routines, and mindset, ensuring that every action is consistent with the desired outcome, and that their purpose remains compelling even in the face of difficulty, criticism, or delay. Vision also provides context for action, because the daily tasks, decisions, and habits that are required to achieve success become meaningful when connected to a larger purpose. And acting successful involves continuously asking whether your current efforts align with your ultimate goal, prioritizing activities that advance the vision and eliminating distractions, time wasters, and behaviors that do not contribute to long-term achievement, because clarity of purpose prevents energy from being scattered and reinforces consistency in pursuit of results. Furthermore, vision fosters resilience, because when setbacks, failures, or challenges occur, a compelling vision provides the motivation to continue, the perspective to learn from mistakes, and the energy to persist despite discomfort, knowing that temporary difficulty is insignificant compared to the magnitude of the ultimate goal, and that each obstacle is a necessary lesson, adjustment, or step toward the final outcome, transforming adversity into a catalyst for growth rather than a reason to quit. Acting successful until you become successful also requires that your vision be grounded in both ambition and realism, because unrealistic or undefined visions can lead to frustration, scattered effort, or abandonment of goals, while a well-constructed vision balances aspiration with actionable steps, measurable milestones, and attainable targets, providing a roadmap that converts inspiration into execution, ideas into results, and potential into tangible achievement. Vision also inspires confidence, both internally and externally, because those who see clearly where they are going radiate purpose, decisiveness, and credibility, attracting opportunities, resources, mentors, and collaborators who are drawn to clarity, competence, and commitment. And acting successful includes leveraging this energy to influence others positively, build alliances, and create conditions that accelerate progress toward the vision, while maintaining focus on the long-term objective rather than being distracted by short-term noise or temporary gains. The act of developing a vision also strengthens other success principles, because vision clarifies priorities, enhances focus, encourages discipline, reinforces persistence, and amplifies action, creating a synergistic effect that multiplies the impact of every effort, thought, and choice. And those who act successfully understand that the vision is the foundation upon which all other success habits are built, guiding decisions, shaping mindset, and aligning resources for maximum effectiveness. Acting successful until you become successful means committing to the power of vision daily, cultivating the ability to see beyond immediate circumstances, and using that vision to direct every action, inform every decision, and sustain energy when challenges arise, because the life you create will always reflect the clarity, depth, and intensity of the vision you hold. And those who see clearly act consistently, persist relentlessly, focus intentionally, and ultimately achieve outcomes that others perceive as extraordinary, proving that vision is not just an idea, but a strategic, actionable, and transformative tool for turning ambition into accomplishment, potential into performance, and dreams into reality. Chapter 14: Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement, the daily practice that transforms ideas, plans, and visions into tangible results, and the foundation upon which long-term success is built, because without discipline, talent remains underdeveloped, ambition becomes inconsistent, and opportunities are wasted. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you cultivate a level of self-control, commitment, and consistency that enables you to act decisively, persistently, and effectively even when motivation wanes, distractions abound, and challenges seem insurmountable. Discipline is not punishment or restriction. It is the conscious choice to prioritize long-term goals over short-term comfort, to take action in alignment with your values and objectives, and to maintain habits and routines that reinforce growth, learning, and progress, because consistent, intentional action compounds over time into results that feel extraordinary. And those who act successfully understand that the quality of their outcomes is directly proportional to the rigor, consistency, and intentionality of their discipline. Acting successful means establishing systems, routines, and rituals that support your highest priorities, because relying solely on willpower or motivation is insufficient. Habits and structures create a framework that makes disciplined action automatic, reliable, and sustainable, and those who succeed consistently leverage these systems to remove friction, reduce decision fatigue, and ensure that progress continues regardless of circumstances, emotions, or external pressures. Discipline also requires the ability to delay gratification, to resist temptation, and to focus on what matters most, because immediate pleasures, distractions, or conveniences often compete with long-term objectives, and the person who acts successfully makes choices that favor enduring results over fleeting satisfaction, knowing that each disciplined decision is a brick in the foundation of their success, and each choice to persist despite discomfort strengthens character, resilience, and capacity for achievement. Acting successful until you become successful also means embracing consistency, because sporadic effort produces sporadic results, while regular, focused, and deliberate effort generates momentum, builds competence, and solidifies confidence. And the compounding effect of disciplined action over weeks, months, and years is the primary differentiator between those who achieve extraordinary outcomes and those who struggle to reach their potential. Discipline extends beyond behavior into mindset, because the ability to stay committed, resilient, and focused in the face of adversity is a mental skill that must be cultivated alongside physical or strategic action, and those who act successfully understand that mastery of the mind, the capacity to control thoughts, emotions, and impulses is inseparable from mastery of outcomes, and that true discipline encompasses both internal and external alignment toward consistent, purposeful action. Acting successful further requires accountability, because discipline without accountability can erode over time. Having systems, mentors, partners, or structures that reinforce commitment, track progress, and encourage follow-through ensures that effort remains consistent, deliberate, and productive, and the awareness that someone or something is holding you responsible motivates higher standards of performance, attention to detail, and adherence to the routines that produce results. Moreover, discipline strengthens resilience, because a person who is accustomed to acting intentionally, even in discomfort, is more capable of navigating setbacks, challenges, and obstacles without losing momentum, and those who act successfully understand that life will always present unexpected difficulties, but disciplined habits, preparation, and mindset provide the stability, confidence, and capacity to continue moving forward, learn from adversity, and turn obstacles into opportunities for growth. Acting successful until you become successful also involves continuous improvement, because discipline is not static. It requires reflection, evaluation, and adjustment to ensure that routines, actions, and behaviors remain aligned with evolving goals, circumstances, and opportunities. And those who succeed consistently refine their approach, learn from mistakes, and adapt systems to maintain peak performance and progress toward their vision. Finally, discipline amplifies every other principle of success, because focus, persistence, action, mindset, vision, and confidence are all multiplied when combined with consistent, intentional, and strategic discipline, creating a synergistic effect that accelerates achievement, strengthens character, and produces extraordinary outcomes. And those who act successfully recognize that while talent, motivation, and opportunity play roles in success, it is discipline, the daily commitment to act in alignment with goals, that ensures results, sustains progress, and transforms potential into reality, proving beyond doubt that mastery over oneself is the ultimate lever for mastering life, achieving vision, and living a legacy of consistent, purposeful, and extraordinary accomplishment. Chapter 15: Confidence is the invisible force that propels action, sustains perseverance, and transforms intention into reality, because without belief in your ability, knowledge, or worth, even the most talented, prepared, or determined individual can falter, hesitate, or fail to act decisively. And acting successful until you become successful requires that you cultivate unwavering confidence in yourself, your capabilities, and your vision, understanding that confidence is not arrogance, entitlement, or blind optimism, but a disciplined, deliberate, and practiced mindset that allows you to face challenges, take risks, and execute consistently, even in the face of uncertainty, criticism, or fear. Confidence is built through repeated action, mastery of skills, preparation, and the accumulation of small successes that reinforce the belief in your capacity to overcome obstacles, because every deliberate step taken toward a goal, every challenge faced and navigated, and every lesson learned from failure or setback compounds to strengthen self-assurance, creating a resilient inner foundation that supports bold decision-making and consistent progress toward your objectives. Acting successful means rejecting doubt, hesitation, and the limiting voices that arise both internally and externally, because those who succeed understand that self-doubt is a natural signal of growth, but it must be acknowledged, managed, and overcome rather than allowed to dictate action, and that confidence is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite fear, knowing that courage, skill, and preparation combine to produce results even when uncertainty exists. Confidence also shapes how others perceive and respond to you, because people are naturally drawn to decisiveness, capability, and presence, and acting successfully requires that you project belief in your abilities while maintaining humility, credibility, and authenticity, because influence, opportunity, and support are amplified when confidence is visible, consistent, and grounded in genuine competence rather than ego or pretension. Acting successful until you become successful further requires cultivating internal validation, because relying solely on external approval, praise, or validation creates vulnerability to the opinions, judgments, and reactions of others, which can undermine focus, motivation, and progress, whereas true confidence originates from a deep understanding of your own strengths, preparation, values, and commitment, providing a stable foundation for consistent action regardless of circumstance or external perception. Confidence is also reinforced by preparation, because knowing that you have equipped yourself with knowledge, skills, and strategies for success strengthens belief in your ability to navigate challenges effectively, and acting successful includes the deliberate pursuit of mastery, continuous learning, and strategic planning to ensure that confidence is not based on assumption or wishful thinking, but on evidence, experience, and competence, producing both clarity of action and resilience under pressure. Moreover, acting successfully involves taking responsibility for outcomes, because confidence grows when you own decisions, accept accountability, and learn from mistakes rather than deflecting blame. And the person who consistently acts with ownership develops self-reliance, adaptability, and problem-solving ability, all of which reinforce confidence in future endeavors and create a cycle of continuous improvement and achievement. Confidence also enables bold action, because those who believe in themselves are willing to take risks, seize opportunities, and persist in the face of uncertainty, understanding that hesitation, overcaution, or fear of failure slows momentum and limits potential, while deliberate, confident action accelerates progress, opens doors, and generates results that validate and strengthen the belief in one's capabilities. Acting successful until you become successful means combining confidence with humility, because genuine confidence recognizes areas for growth, seeks feedback, and remains open to learning, ensuring that self-assurance does not become stagnation or arrogance, but instead fuels continuous development, adaptability, and the pursuit of ever higher goals, while maintaining the flexibility to adjust strategies, embrace challenges, and collaborate with others to achieve greater outcomes. Finally, confidence amplifies every other principle of success, because belief in your vision, discipline, focus, persistence, action, mindset, and skills enables you to execute consistently, overcome adversity, maintain momentum, and attract the resources, people, and opportunities necessary to realize your full potential. And acting successful until you become successful proves that the journey to achievement is not simply about talent, luck, or circumstance, but about the deliberate cultivation of unwavering self-belief that empowers action, sustains growth, and ultimately transforms vision into reality, potential into performance, and dreams into lasting accomplishment, demonstrating that confidence is the final key to unlocking the success you have been working toward throughout every chapter, every effort, and every choice in the life you intentionally construct.